if we
Hey, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me well?
Yep, yeah, coming through well.
Great.
Like a like we're on a podcast.
Right. Some friends and I have a podcast related to video games and technology.
Oh, nice. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Hence the
Yeah.
the get up. Out of I should have asked before I joined. I wanted to make sure that you've got to the extent that I ever miss the meeting, that you've got a host key in case the recording doesn't automatically start, or in case you can't share for some reason.
Host key related to what?
To Zoom, like I don't know if occasionally, like you can't. Depends on the configuration, I guess. Occasionally you can't share without it. I think you were okay though.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah. Last time that I didn't join on time, I think you were able to share and do what you needed to do. So okay, cool,
Yeah.
cool.
So I think we can start.
Sounds good.
So if you have not wrote your name in the attendees list, please do it. The first topic to cover in this meeting is the dependable configuration, the new dependable configuration. This was for Meshery, and now the labels will be area dash UI and component dash UI. And could you tell more about this, Lee?
Yeah, I recently. Oh, so yeah, it had been a little bit there is a document, a Google Doc, that talks about the list of labels that we use in across our repos, um, and it calls out the purpose of the labels. It probably needs to be updated just a little bit to reflect this change. So there's like about 50 labels, and the one here we had there's a few that have the that are prepended with area, and a few that are prepended with component. And it had occurred to me that we had long-standing one called area UI, and actually we have a component UI. We've got Meshery UI, and it's made of React and etc. And we have this softer concept of UX. And so I think what I ended up doing was, as we, yeah, yeah, I did. So the area is sort of like, hey, this general space, and in this case, it's like generally there's a user experience concern, and then specifically there's a JavaScript concern under component UI. So I just separated out those two different labels, and then in Dependabot they have not too long ago moved from managing the configuration of Dependabot as a separate thing, and now you're able to define that configuration in YAML in your .github. So as we were basically, I think all of the repos now, they all had Dependabot enabled, and they've all been updated now to keep that Dependabot configuration in YAML in the repo. And some of that configuration is to auto label things. So depending
Okay,
upon where,
so sorry. So it's needed another issue to address that to modify the YAML configuration.
yeah, at this point, all right, I guess I can't quite remember but at this point, the config for Dependabot is now done inside of the .github folder. And so my comment here was, I think it was just in recognition that, like, hey, Rodolfo is leading this area, And if we're doing changes, we should make darn sure that Rodolfo understands what's going on. And
Oh, I
so
see.
most,
Okay.
yeah. And the other thing I was trying to do here was like, hey, wait a second, there's some things in Dependabot that we should update, like who is the default reviewer for a given component. Like in this case, I had assigned Dhruv as a person to be assigned as a default reviewer for UI stuff. And then I was thinking, wait a second, I don't know that Rodolfo or others can get in here to see this config and even change the config as over time as needed. And so that was kind of the
Great.
background.
Yeah, I have seen that some pull requests already adds the reviewers, right? For example, this one.
Right.
No, this one not. But yeah, there are some pull requests that that has reviewers in automatically, right?
Yeah. And now, one of the frustrating things, I think this is a GitHub limitation, is that I don't know that, or maybe it's a depend upon limitation. We should probably experiment. At the time, you could only explicitly identify an individual to, to be auto assigned as a reviewer. And when ideally we would probably use a team, and there are a number of teams in our org. So it could be something for us to experiment with to see if,
Yeah, like in Meshery console repo, right? That adds a group of users as
right,
reviewers.
right, exactly.
Yeah,
You
thanks
can,
for pointing out that, Lee.
you, you can do it in the UI, but we might
For
have to
example,
experiment.
yeah, yeah, requested review for CI release contributors and depend about added that, right?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
I did
Ah,
manually.
yeah.
Yeah. But,
Okay.
but yeah, I'll add some notes into the meeting minutes to say it might be worth a test of Dependabot, see if it can do it.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks.
Yeah.
Anyone has a question about this? If not, we can follow to the next topic here. And the next one is that I created three issues related to Cypress test, small issues in order to be worked by the community. One of them is being working by Jesus Lerma. I don't know if you are here, Jesus. No, I don't think so. And the other tickets, the other ticket or the other issue is being worked by Max G3, but I think he's not here also.
Huh.
But
I'll message both of them.
yeah, and that two people is working on these small issues about adding Cypress test. So there is one missing that you can start working on that if you want to.
Index page. Hmm.
This is the
Vishal,
third. Sorry.
I was just going to call out Vishal and ask if working with Cypress is of interest to you or not.
Yeah, this is the third issue that is unassigned. So if anyone up here want to start working or start learning in doing Cypress tests, you can take this to test the service mesh configuration and integration test. I explained here how to do it and how to or which things you need to validate in the Cypress test. For example, write the adapter URL here and verify that it is connected well. And I put some references that you can follow in order to accomplish this task. So if any one of you want to start working or learning and doing Cypress test, you can take this one.
Nice. Yeah, Vishal raised his hand. Nice. Vishal, let's do it.
I think we have Jesus Lerma. Hey, Jesus. Uh, I wanted to ask you if you continue working on the issue about the Cypress test and if you have some questions or problems you face.
I am installing Meshery again because I am on a new computer. So I need to reinstall Meshery in order to start the testing. I clone the repository and run the Cypress test, but if Meshery is not running, it's going to crash. So I
Okay,
need to rebuild the Meshery again and start working on this one.
great. If you have another question, please let us know.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thank you to you, Jesus.
Mhm.
Um, so there are the three issues that are being working about Cypress test or adding Cypress test. Anyone of here has a question about Cypress test or how to start working on that? So if not, we can proceed with the next topic. And the next one is layer 5 engine Netlify. That is the new website built with Gatsby, if I am not wrong, Lee, but it is the new website.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. Um, that's right. And Tanuj is on. And so, Vishal, by the way, you meant you missed your chance to ask about Cypress UI. Vishal, if I were you, if you're going to take on that issue, I'd take up Rodolfo on his offer to engage and kind of show you around how Cypress works. Nice. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I see you. You do have that question. Okay. Good. We'll Rodolfo will have to circle back. That's great. And so, yeah, Tanuj, do you want to explain a little bit about the
Ah,
challenge that you
yeah,
face?
Yeah, sure.
yeah.
So, what the issue with this I'm facing is that when we how we normally write a workflow for we specify the pull request at the top. When we do, particularly if we do this here, what's happening is that the two keys that Netlify need, particularly the site ID and the auth ID, they are not getting passed because I read it in the docs that pull request doesn't allow those secret keys to be passed on. So after some exploring a bit, I found apart from the pull request, I found something called pull request target, which does allow it to pass. But the issue with pull request target I'm facing is that pull request target builds the base of the PR, not the merge commit, which is what we need. So what's essentially now happening is that whenever someone sends a pull request, uh, we basically don't see any. changes in the mm, URL that is generated, because it is not the latest commit which is being built.
Yeah, and this is a problem that we need to add a flag or a parameter in order to detect pull requests, right?
Means uh, can you open any open PR currently?
Yeah, here in layer 5 or
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Meshery?
in layer 5. Uh, that
This one
third PR,
or
third PR will work. Hosting to GitHub pages in this.
this one?
Yeah, yeah. What essentially this PR does is it generates a Netlify URL, as you can see at the top. You can ignore the content of the pull request. That is not important here. Means what this URL should generate is the latest changes. But what it is doing is that uh, it is building the base of the pull request, so none of the changes get reflected. And the base of the merge commit will get built if we use pull request instead of pull request target. But in that case, the keys are not passed, so the build fails.
Which keys are we looking for? Netlify's keys?
Yeah,
Okay. It's an interesting thing because the workflow that's building the code it's executing, you would think, in context of the layer 5 repo and it having access to those keys is I'm curious about the workflow itself. In the workflow, are we checking out that user's branch from their repo, cloning it rather, and if it's in the same runner that has access to the environment variables for the secrets like that?
In Netlify, we do specify which particular branch we want to build it from. So, like if you have already put the layer 5 NC1, it should automatically always pick that up only whenever a new pull request is being created.
yeah. Siva, let me clarify what we are trying to do. Means what in Netlify normally we just specify the branch and all the building stuff is done by Netlify. So what we were thinking was that instead of wasting our build minutes there, which takes about 7 to 8 minutes, we were trying to build the site in GitHub Actions, and the generated public directory, which that is essentially we are going to push it into Netlify, and so Netlify build minutes are not wasted.
So to understand well the problem we are facing is that we are deploying the the preview of the blog or the page well, or it's not being deployed.
Uh, it's getting deployed, but we will not see any changes essentially because the latest changes are not getting built by pull request target.
Okay, so only if you merge that pull request in master, it will show the changes, right?
Yeah,
Okay, okay.
this will
Yeah,
this will not occur if we use pull request instead of pull request target, but in pull request there's the issue of keys.
yeah. You say that the keys of Netlify are not accessible by pull request, right? These
Yeah,
ones.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. Thanks for pointing that. I think I will check it out. How to allow pull requests to access those variables. Have you figured out something related to that?
And not particularly means uh, in for the pull request target was the other thing I tried, but I was not able to get the latest changes there. The another thing I thought of was using a mm, running and the workflow using workflow run. And there is another tag instead of pull request target, but I haven't explored that particularly currently.
Okay. Yeah, so let me do a research about this in order to know more about this problem and if we can solve this one. I will send you a Slack message, Daniel, in order to let you know what I am discovering.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. I will put that note in the notes. Netlify and pull requests. Great. Uh, hey Vishal, I didn't saw your question before. You are you were asking about Cypress, right? Do you want to know something special to be explained, Vishal?
So Vishal's audio doesn't work, or he's not in a place to be able to do it. But um, so I gave him the link to your blog post, which has your slides in it, Rodolfo. If you think about it, if you have time to do it, a link even to your YouTube, to the YouTube recording might be helpful. Or actually, it wouldn't might be helpful, like for sure, that recording, that overview that you gave. Oh, there it is. Okay. Now, yeah,
Yeah,
Vishal, that's what you need, Vishal, right there.
yeah. Here is a meeting that we explain how Cypress works, and we gave an overview about how it works and what is needed to start working on writing tests in Cypress. So I recommend to you that watch this video and also read this blog post and see the other resources in order to get familiar with Cypress. Then, if you have questions about this, please let me know in Slack or in the Meshery CI channel, Bishop. Okay, great. And the next topic that is in the agenda is multi-language support by Alonso.
Is good. So that was just a quick note. Alonso had mentioned in chat that he's stepped off the call to go have a call with Shriti Chandra about multi-language support for Meshery docs. I don't know that it entirely relates to CI, maybe a little bit, but he had given status, so I was just tracking it there.
I am working on with also on following up this issue, so I think I can help with that status. And I think I first started working on this, trying to adapt the multi-language plugin, but that doesn't went well with how we can insert that plugin into our Jekyll page. So what Alonso was trying to do is to create an isolated project for Jekyll in order to understand understand how to use that into a Jekyll project, and he is also having some issues. So I am not sure if that plugin is going to be like the best way to do that, but we need to check what is the last status from Alonso to know if that is going to be the best approach to follow. If not, we can try to do something from scratch. But just that is what we already done. Uh, we added that from scratch, so maybe we can start looking on how to implement that into a more automated way to create translations.
Can we like have a GitHub action whenever we create a pull request and it gets merged? It will automatically take a look at all the changes that were made in the documentation in any one particular language, and it changes that into for the corresponding other languages, like whatever change in the documentation with the help of the GitHub action.
That's we should,
Um, uh-huh. I don't understand very well the question, or uh,
I'll rephrase it if I can. Shivai, correct me if I say it wrong, but I think Shivai is wondering if there is a language translation GitHub action, like if there's a way of anytime that
okay.
an update is to be made to the docs, that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
kind of like the
I,
Google.
I am not I am not sure. Previously, I know that Layer 5 was using a tool by Google Translate, rightly,
Mhm.
to translate the documentation. But then we start to do the effort manually. So maybe what we can try to do is to look for an action to create like the template structure for each time we create a new uh, article or a new post for the documentation in English. We can create like that template for the other languages that we are looking for.
So
But
they,
I am
I
not.
just found like, sorry,
Yes.
I just found like a language translation GitHub action that translates like any text, but like probably I'm not sure if how we'll be integrating that with the docs to specify only those particular uh, changes that have been made in that like doc.
I am not sure if we want an automate translation, because I am, for example, in Spanish, that is like the most effort we put on this issue. When we did that by an automation tool for doing the translation, it's like not making a lot of sense what that tool is doing with the translation. So maybe we can start the discussion if we want to do that translation in an automated way or not.
In many respects, like irrespective of whether or not it is automatically translated or not, we will still need to do the bit that you guys are working on, um, which is like logically fairly straightforward. It is just it's a restruct. It's kind of like what you do when you want to keep multiple versions of the docs. So it's the same thing that you do to keep multiple languages of the docs, and the two will go hand in hand. By the way, so the docs themselves, it's a folder full of files.
Yeah.
Those are the docs. So then, um, well, if you want to have versions of them, there's a few different ways you can approach this. You can at a point in time say we're moving from version 2 to version 3, make a copy of the folder, leave the old one behind, put it under the folder name v3. There, it's versioned, it's done. It's fucking that damn simple. I've been talking about it for ever. I've been talking about it for a year. It is that damn simple. It's just about the same thing for language as well. The only like simplicity sort of snafu stuff is, well, what if like the navigation, the header or the footer or the navigator changes? Like, well, that's okay. Like if you go back to V3 of the docs, you'll see the V3 version of the header and the footer and the navigator, which is entirely appropriate because if you change the navigator for the new stuff, for a new link, a new page that you've created, well, it's not going to be present in the old version anyway. So you don't want to have the new navigation menu. Anyway, point is, the docs do need to be restructured to include, whether you do it from scratch, Jesus, which is almost always the not, is a lot of times not the thing to do, but it is, you're going to have to, the docs have to be restructured anyway. They have to be organized in such a way that you're able to say, either create custom front matter variables, which is what I'd done a little bit ago, just to help facilitate this. I think as you were working with people to translate it, and that's just to create a front matter variable called language, and then put ES or EN, depending upon what language it was going to go into. Um, the challenge will be, yeah. Anyway,
Because even for large projects like TensorFlow, they have separate folders for the translations. They're not doing it manually. Like they're not doing in an automated way with some kind of a CI workflow. They're having individual contributors for each language.
he's like, in terms of like the automated translate, like, yeah, whether it's automated or not, you'll have to have a folder structure and a like a and to Jesus's point, like, um yeah, having tried to help translate the English to Spanish, or just trying to help be a voice there, like, yeah, the translators weren't quite getting it. Like Jesus is right, like it was pretty, it's where I'm thankful that Alonso and Jesus and a few other contributors are here to help with that, because it really does take their understanding of the technology to get it to translate to the right. I mean, they have to actually do the translation because it. I mean, but to what you'd said, Shivai, there's a lot of merit to it as well, because if you do go to a lot of different sites and you use like Chrome's language, auto translation, like, is fairly close. You can you can tell where it either literally doesn't translate something or it's like a little bit off.
Yeah,
And so,
and it's always increasing. Like the implementation of the translation itself is improving day by day. So
right, right. Um, and so yeah, there's an open issue on this. There's a Jekyll. There's like a few Jekyll plugins to sort of structure your site, such your theme, such that you're set up for um, multi-language support. And so there's a one of them that's like the most popular of them. Maybe that means it's the best, maybe not, but that's the one that is kind of identified in the issue. And it doesn't really matter whichever one you go with, they're all going to tell you that you can take different approaches to it, but they're all going to basically tell you, you've got some refactoring to do within your setup, within your front matter variables or within the folder structure. And it's not in any way insurmountable. So is, yep.
I was thinking about maybe what we can do is each time a new post is in posted into Jekyll onto Meshery documentation, we can create once that new document is in master and push it to the website, we can create an automate pull request containing that into Spanish using the translator. And so, for example, you can auto assign that pull request to me or Alonso, so we can review that and we can automate that in order to check that the translation is correct. Uh, but a lot of work can be done automated.
That's all. Yeah, that makes total sense. We'll write that down. Like, yeah, if we're going to actually seriously have a translated version of the docs, how could you guys ever be expected to keep up if you're not being notified, like when when there's something new to translate? So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Spanish is a good. It's only an example, but you can do by any language maintainer. You know,
Totally. I was hoping for a Tamil version soon, Shivai. So either that or a Hindi translation.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea that to automate that and be reviewed by a human in order to validate if the translations are well. So, anything else about this multilingual support?
No, I think.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thanks, Jesus,
Thank.
for that update.
Yeah, no problem.
And the next topic, I think we already mentioned that the workflow for versioning Meshery docs is something like Lee
Oh,
uh,
yeah. So
said.
Anirudh, I'll try to dig up or I'll go dig up the research that Anirudh has done and put the link here. But without him here, maybe we'll skip.
Okay,
It's certainly highly related to. It'll affect both the work that we just talked about and his work will affect one another, um, but not negatively.
okay, great. So the next topic is get Nighthawk CI setup. I think Abhishek has already done or has already executed some tests about this. Uh, uh, Abhishek, can you tell us, please, what do you do and what do you think can be the next steps?
Sure. So I was able to build the Nighthawk server, both the client and server, and also the test server last a couple of days ago, and it was running fine. So I was thinking the next steps would be to start setting up the CI and start publishing the artifacts for different architectures or OS versions uh, of the binaries. So that's what. So what I was having in my mind is that we could write different GitHub actions, which would which would do the build and release flow. The idea is that we would have one GitHub action that would basically build the binary for one particular version of Nighthawk, and these binaries would be multiple of them. Basically, each for each for a separate operating system architecture, and then all of them are released in the same GitHub as a part of the same GitHub release. Uh, and like basically this is one particular GitHub action. And yeah, so basically I would want some inputs or ideas from you guys about what better can be done in here, or
So yeah, for my part, it is go create some issues, get really specific. Let's what package manager are we going to shoot for first? Which are the ones that we should shoot for based on what we think we can easily compile to outline where the binaries will be published and how many if there's more than one get Nighthawk container image to be pushed. Let's let's break down the tasks. Let's get specific. Let's give them out to folks. Rudolfo is here, highly capable. and I'm going to pressure him to help on the project.
Mhm.
So, yeah, Anirudh, or I mean, Abhishek, can you go, please go create issues. There are tasks that are listed in the spec itself, the project spec, that's linked here at the bottom of that doc. Have you seen those tasks?
Yeah, sure. I've seen them. I'll go create issues all.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I think it'll unlock it for people. Like it'll help others move some of it forward in parallel.
Mhm.
You know, if there's a standard runner that we should be using, hey, look, you can only build this thing in Ubuntu anyway. Here's the Bazel action or whatever those standard components to it are. Um, I think that will enable others to be successful and to work on the RPM while someone's working on the TAR GZ, someone's working on the X64, like, and for to just go lay out what those are. Like, we don't have to build all of the things. We just need a handful of popular platforms to support. So
Sure. Yeah, I'll go list down. Is there a doc that we are following, or should I
yeah,
put it on the issue itself?
yep, so in here, the project specification hyperlink,
Yep.
That's the one. So yep, yeah, the in scope, out of scope section. It's like on page 2-ish or 3-ish.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. It's fine. It's on page 5. You know that yeah, specifies some. It says stable and nightly builds for Debian, Ubuntu, CentOS, and Mac OS. Like, hey, look, let's get as far as we can. From a selfish Meshery perspective, shoot, we just need one that works inside, that we can run inside of Meshery's container image, and then and kind of focusing and getting that one right means that there's a pattern to follow for the others. Yeah, but I think for a lot of, there's a number of very well-intentioned people in the community who have all kinds of other things happening in their lives, and are also all like the rest of us, all of us learning as we go. But so yeah, so if you're able to break down where you've had success, no doubt people will pick those up. So
Sure. I'll go ahead and create the issues.
if anybody else has strong opinions on like, hey, we can just skip Mac OS, or we have to have, you know, Fedora or CentOS or something, you know, like, please chime in. Question, Abhishek, do you know the OS that's being used as the base image for Meshery? No doubt that's Alpine. I don't know if you
Oh, it is Alpine, right? Yeah.
got you. Okay. Yeah, and part of what Abhishek, you or anyone else, like I'm calling out Abhishek specifically because he lets me bend his arm. Um, is if people have, there are things to just identify. Hey, the static binaries, they will be published to the releases section of that GitHub repo, or they will be published here or there. Whatever those things are, that document is just waiting for opinions, feedback, comments, suggestions. We're gonna, this next Thursday, we'll have another CNCF SIG network call. Nighthawk is a standing topic there. It's an awesome time for anyone who's here to elevate their works, for some people surrounding the layer 5 community to see what you've done, get to know you. There's some very seasoned technologists that come to that meeting. So for my part on the project, I'm going to try to make sure that we get a couple of logos before that time so that people can make form opinions and maybe vote on the logo. And that task for me is called out, I think, in the bottom of that project doc. I don't know. I think I created a GitHub issue as well. Yes, there it is. It has my picture on it. But yeah.
In which repository?
It's layer 5.io get Nighthawk. Actually, there's a link right there. It's open get Nighthawk issues right inside the meeting minutes. Yep, that's right. This one is, wait a second. But yeah, I think there's a filter. Okay, this is filtered on the CI area, which is,
yeah,
good. I'd added it, but Adina, I don't know if you have been able to spend any time just yet or have any thoughts to add.
Sorry, come again on what to put the thoughts on what you said before about the image that is Alpine and not Ubuntu. And yeah, I was looking on the one that was Envoy build, and I had the impression that we have the Meshery on Ubuntu 20, but I think it is for the sites or something else. I think I'm wrong, or for some builds. I don't know, or I'm confusing the projects. So I didn't look, but I tried last week to start creating, to start watch some issues, so I can also select some issues or something to work on. Not sure what was your question, Ian. Sorry for.
Yeah, that was kind of it. It's just like, yeah,
around the tail.
That was mostly it, like an update. I created an issue that I thought that might be part of what you were trying to do, is sort of just like, I don't know, an initial build on.
Okay, so and you also asked me why didn't I get the email, and also I'm surprised I didn't get the email for the ones I sign up. I add myself as a watcher. Have to see what's going on my mail probably. Okay, so I'm assigned to it. That's great. I will say I'm a little bit behind on being reliable. How soon, except yesterday and ASAP, you need this to you need this to have it, not to block the other releases and so on.
A week from now, next Thursday.
Next Thursday. So in my terms, that will be on Monday latest. So we can arrange things if it's not okay. Next Thursday, when is the SIG network up? I don't remember the group, working group.
Exactly.
Okay, so we we whatever should have it. Can we have a checkpoint on Saturday? I saw you sometimes working on Saturday.
I get called out for being a workaholic. No one has ever said workaholic to my face, but yeah, I get people.
The word did not came in in this right moment in my head, but I wouldn't have a problem to put labels on people. Sometimes I'm doing this mistake, but it's a starting point also. Sorry. Yeah. I put it in other words. For me, it will be great in order to actually finish to have a checkpoint on Saturday. What did I build? How I'm building, blah blah, and so. And like this, since I will know I have a tight deadline, I will, and I can be focused only on that. That's the thing. So I would like to have only this timely on Saturday and on Monday a checkbox, like a checkbox. I don't know.
Sure.
when you need to check your kids if they did their homework or something. I don't know how to say it.
Sure.
But yeah, and if they didn't, okay, where are you standing? How much did you do, or what is the thing? And
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Very good. Very good. Good. Um, uh,
yeah, and with whom I can have the check of this meeting.
Abhishek Kumar is good. Is and Rodolfo, I think, are, whether Rodolfo likes it or not, um, are going to be helping individuals who are going to.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Abhishek, Rodolfo, and forgot the other one, Kumar.
Yeah, I'll send you their names now.
Yes, and I will. I don't know, think with them when it will be a good time for at least one of them on Saturday and at least one of them on Monday. Okay, to meet.
Cool.
Yeah, sounds good for me also.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Don't feel pressure to come on Saturday. But they are religious, like communist religion. When Saturday was a working day, only Sunday was free. Saying
Yeah, no
stupid
worry.
things. Okay. Saying stupid things all the time, not only on late hours, but yeah. Thank you all. Thank you.
Okay, so I think those were all the topics to be discussed in the agenda. Do anyone have another topic that would like to be discussed?
Just quick recap for me on Netlify. Uh, did we have explicit items that we were going to try?
The Netlify builds previews in peers.
Yeah. Like a Tanuj, like what are you, if you're going to put any more time into it, what's your next?
I was thinking
Yeah,
there is something called workflow run. I was going to try that.
And we didn't, like, then to Shivai's point, which is like a really great point, like when when you do a search of the GitHub for GitHub Actions with Netlify, doing Netlify builds, I think when I did a Google search, I found a million articles saying how to move from GitHub Actions to Netlify. But that wasn't what I was looking for. I was looking for like a GitHub action that just kind of had, would land the preview in your.
Yeah, all of them are mostly for production deployment, which is very easy to do using GitHub Actions and Netlify.
Gotcha. All right. One last thing from me, Rudolph, if I could, we had gotten an email from GitHub, not a special one or anything, just an email from GitHub saying, as that you have run over your storage limit for layer 5 IO for the org. And it's 500 megs a month. And I thought, my goodness, I didn't realize that we were necessarily um, persisting many of the build artifacts, because there's tons of builds that go on across the various repos and things. But in general, those are transient. Like, that when we do benefit from previewing a build artifact, like sometimes it would be nice to have a build artifact like Meshery CTL for that PR for Meshery CTL, like sitting right there in the PR where you can just click on it, download it, do some user tests. That would be kind of helpful. We don't do that. So I was a little bit confused as to like, geez, where did we run over the 500 mega limit? And anyway, to help overcome that, I sent out an email with some specifics about where we were running over the limit. Rodolfo, do you remember where we were running over?
Yeah, I think we went over last week, if I am not wrong.
There's a configuration in GitHub on a per repo basis and on the org level that you can, I think by default, it has a retainer, a 90-day retainer of artifacts that were binaries or other artifacts that were created during build time. So we reduced that down significantly. As a matter of fact, I said I would reduce it to 15 days. And like, because the builds were blocked, I just reduced it to 1 day because the builds were blocked and because we don't need any transient artifacts. We're not using that functionality.
Yep.
I'll come clean and say I actually reduced it to 1 day. And so, so Tanuj, like depending upon what approach you end up and Rodolfo, kind of where we land on layer 5 preview builds. If part of that thinking and part of that workflow was persisting a temporary folder in a repo, understand that keep in the back of your mind that setting is there and could affect adversely. Yeah, just FYI, just as a
yeah.
And that's it. Like, hey, we should be using free computing from GitHub more. Rodolfo, you're still kind of tracking, I think, toward like the fact that Vishal raised his hand to kind of dig into some Cypress, functional tests. Awesome. Rodolfo, you led an initial charge to do functional testing of Kubernetes, spinning up a Kubernetes cluster, laying out a service mesh, deploying an app. Is that part of, like, if Vishal is successful with creating a few functional tests in Cypress, that those tests will be using that temporary kind cluster, right?
Right.
Okay. So anyway, so I'm excited that you all are working on such tests. So I'll repeat that really quickly, mostly for Tans. Welcome to the call, Tans. We're like 2 seconds away from ending the call. So very nice to have you on the call. Quickly, I'll say, if you don't have a link to these meeting minutes, we'll post one in Slack so you can go check them out. But we were just wrapping up a discussion on the fact that each time that someone submits a PR to the Meshery repo, there's a number of tests that are run. And one of those tests is to spin up a kind cluster, invoke Meshery's operations to deploy a service mesh, deploy a sample app, and go through a few different tests. And some of the contributors here are working on new tests. So pretty neat.
Great. So I think we're getting over the meeting. So thanks for everyone to attend this meeting. And if you have more questions, please feel free to reach us in the channel Meshery CI or by Slack message to me.
Beautiful. Thanks a lot, Rodolfo. These are great.
No, thanks to
Thank
you.
See you.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you there. Bye.
See you guys.
Again.